Professor Hans Richter.
I don't have to explain DADA. You all know what DADA is. But it was created as a movement of protest in Zurich. Protest not only in the world of art, but also in the world of politics. There were immigrants from Germany, from Romania, Janko and Zara, from Austria, Werner. They were not only against the war, but they wanted to express a new kind of mentality. They wanted to include arts into the fight for a new ethic.
Revolted by the slaughter of World War I, we devoted ourselves in Zurich to the fine arts. While far away there was artillery thunder, we sang, painted, glued together and wrote poems to our heart's content. Hans Arp.
In this house on February the 5th, 1916, the Cabaret Voltaire was opened and Dadaism founded.
From Hugo Ball's diaries, 1916, May 24. We were all there when Janko arrived with his masks, and everyone immediately tried one on. Then something strange happened. The masks not only immediately called for specific costumes, they also dictated a very theatrical behavior that verged on madness. 1916, June 23. I have invented a new kind of verse, verses without words, or sound poems. The first of these verses I read out tonight. I had constructed a special costume for the occasion.
From Zara Zurich Chronicle, 1918, July 23. Miser Hall, Tristan Zara Soiree. Manifesto, Antithesis, Thesis, Anti-Philosophy. 1919, April 9, Kaufleuten Hall. Non plus ultra, 1,500 persons filled the hall. From July 1917 on, the magazine DADA appears in Zurich. In January 1920, Zara goes to Paris, where the last numbers of DADA are printed.
Teuber Arp, Sophie, wife of Hans Arp, as a painter had great influence on the Zurich Dadaism. Paper and cloth pictures, embroidery, Dada heads, marionettes, dancer.
Soldier and Army at the same time, 1918, marionette figure. Elementary forms, 1917, gouache and embroidery. She loved dancing, and for a time she preferred this to her creative work. Sophie Teuber was a teacher in the Zurich School of Arts and Crafts. Her teaching made her essential work and mine possible. I must remind the reader that we lived in Dada times and that the Dadaists had an extremely bad reputation. Thus, the head of the School of Arts and Crafts intimated to Sophie she was to give up taking part in the Dadaist manifestations, or else, as they say in Switzerland, she would lose her teacher's job. She now saw herself compelled to wear a mask and pseudonym for her dance act. Hans Arp.
Sarah Tristan co-founded Dada in Zurich 1916, editor of the magazines Cabaret Voltaire and Dada, co-founder of Paris Dada. Later on collaborated with the Surrealists.
Diarrhea is also a sentiment. War, business, poetic element, infernal propeller economic spirit, Germain Fautisme, national anthem, posters, Raymond tossed on stage, savage outbursts, Tristan Zara.
Sarna Walter. Editor of the magazine Sirius. Main work, Letzte Lockerung, Hanover 1920. Last heard of in 1922 in the USSR, where he had gone as a convinced communist. Schwitter's Kurt. From 1918 on, developed his one-man Dadaism, which he called Merz. emigrated to Norway in 1937. His Merz structure in Hanover 1943 destroyed in an air raid. Merz structure number 2 in Lysaker, Norway, burnt by children at play 1951. Merz structure number 3 in Little Langdale near Ambleside, England, didn't get beyond initial stage.
Merz picture 1C 1920.
He was not against art. As a matter of fact, he created a new art form with his collage, which was completely different from anything we had seen before. And he explained to Hausmann, for instance, that he nailed his paintings. And he pasted his collage in order to enrich normal paintings.
Uns. Bevölkerung Entlastungskrieg. Es ging gewonnen an Berliner. Und noch etwas stattfindendes am Kopfe. Reichsgerichtsprozesse gegen die Staatsaußenangehörigen werden alle Personen, die imstande sind, Beweiskräftiges zu liefern oder darauf hinzuholen ist, die durch die Presse bekannt wird. Die Liste der Beschuldigungen finden von Mittwoch den 11. bis wegen erwartenden Eingänge bitten wir Abenddatum Kriegsschauplatz
Kurt Schwitters spricht sein Gedicht
Kurt Schwitters reading his poem to Anna Blume, recorded in 1932.
Geliebte meiner 27 Sinne, ich liebe dir. Du deiner, dich, dir, ich, dir, du mir, wir. Das gehört beiläufig nicht hierher. Wer bist du, ungezähltes Frauenzimmer? Du bist du. Die Menschen sagen, du wärest. Lass sie sagen. Sie wissen nicht, wie der Kirchturm steht.
Spricht Teile seiner Sonate mit Urlauten.
Der Bebe, fünfe, Bebe, fünfe,
At first I tried to create new art forms out of the remains of older cultures. This led to Merz painting, a new form of painting that uses any sort of material, pelican colors as well as rubbish. Thus I experienced the revolution in its funniest form and am termed a Dadaist without being one. Kurt Schwitters, 1926.
Invitation to Merz soiree. Original poetry. Grotesques, satires, lyrics, epic poetry. Dada, primal sound poetry. Dancing and refreshments after the lecture. When you go home, tell everyone what a jolly time you've had.
And thus the word Merz was born.
Starting with the number Holland Dada, Schwitters publishes from 1923 until 1932 in his own Merz Verlag, all in all 21 numbers of his Merz magazine. In it he propagated his Merz ideas, Merz typography in conjunction with Lisitsky, Merz architecture, Merz poetry, Merz and Dada friends, Merz painting, Merz structure, Merz theatre, Merz advertising, and himself. From about 1922 onwards, Schwitters turned away from Dadaism and inclined to the Dutch de Stijl movement. Richter Hans came to Zurich at the end of 1916, championed the abstract films together with Eggerling.